Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my Time Agent Series 3 ranking. I will be ranking the last 6 episodes of Time Agent released. So, let's get started with number 6. Number 6 is One Against an Army. Now, this one's my least favourite for just not much happening, really. We get introduced to Scarlet, Brooke and Zoe, but that's basically it. I'm sorry, there's something wrong with this positioning. Maybe it's just me. I don't know, there's just very little happened. Oh, the contacts died. That's another thing. But aside from being introduced to 2 new characters and one of our series regulars for this, a regular character for this series being committing suicide, and some secrets revealed, not much happens. Liam stops Mortis from attacking Vision X, and then at the end he goes in to find out what's happening, and it's revealed that Captain Tobias has been turned into a flower alien. Oh yeah, another character's dead. Kind of. He is a flower alien, dies in the next episode, and he's probably been converted sometime between being taken down in the last episode to the end of this one, so at some point. So I'm guessing, as I said in the vlog, that the videotape of Mortis and Robin watched of Tobias being taken down by the flower alien and the executive might have been on his way to being converted. Although why it took 2 days from being captured, I don't know. So, One Against an Army, not much happens. Really. To be honest, Series 3 has a thing where it's mostly talking and not enough stuff happening for most of the series, although there are moments of exceptions in each episode. And some episodes, quite a lot does happen. It does happen, but in this episode, very little happens. It's mostly chatting. Some cool action moments, but I don't know, it's good, but it's not as good as the next 5. Okay, number 5. Now, the next 4 are really good, but they all are kind of they're mostly talking. There's quite a bit of action. There's a couple of stuff going on, but there's still quite a lot of talking. It's not really moving the plot very far. Well, the first one does, but the rest, not, and the last one, but the rest don't. So most of Series 3 is like that, and the next 4 are on a similar basis as each other. The difference between each one is what happens and how good and enjoyable it is. So number 5 is the first episode of the series, Point of No Return. The reason this one's on here is because it's mostly setting up. It does take a bit of time, although enjoyable, and quite a bit more stuff happens in this episode than some of the next couple. But as for getting stuff done, stuff does happen, but getting stuff done, more happens in the next one that is done than actually happening than this one. It's mostly setting up the plots and storylines, and there is quite a bit of stuff. It's also my least enjoyed out of the ones out of the series, aside from One Against an Army, and that's why it's this low. But I can say this is one of the ones where more happens, not so much talking, apart from the scene where Liam is talking to the Colonel. That's quite a long one, and intercuts with Mortis's bits at points. But the angles that are used in the performances between Billy and Alex Matthews is great. Billy Tracy and Alex Matthews is brilliant. And then you get the scene with Mortis talking to Jackson Turner. Again, it's not as long, but it's nice to have Robin's talk with Liam, which is done via, not directly to each other, so that's interesting. And the one with the contact's quick, and the one with Tobias reveals information, as the Colonel one and the Jax one's got some information about Obadiah and the origin of the Vortex Manipulator. It's really, most of the conversations in this one are relevant to the story. It's just that, and ones later on are just talking. Not all the talky scenes are just chat. There are relevant information being passed around and character development. But this one is the one that had the most stuff talked about as opposed to just talking. And it's a good one. Number 4. This one again, I think this one would be higher if there wasn't a subplot featuring these two random guys that we never see again. Number 4 is First Contact. Now, this episode has a really good action scene. I think there could have been a bit more action in the scene where Liam is killing people, and I can barely hear that guy when the contact is up against the wall and the guy is trying to handcuff him or something. He's restraining him. I'm trying to listen to what that guy said, but it's so bloody loud. And then Liam pretty much goes on a murder spree. There could have been a bit more. It's good. It's a great scene. So loud. I'm trying to hear this guy who maybe the actor's the problem. Maybe he's just too quiet. I can hear the contact well enough, but the guy is quiet. Turn him up, and the sirens and music and shooting down. Actually, was the music that high? I don't even know if there was much music there. Yeah, there was music. I don't know if that was high. Turn the background sounds and the music down and raise the actor's volume. But yeah, it's amazing. As for the rest of the episode, Mortis meets up with Robin. They're there for a bit. They examine and flower in, and the executive has some fantastic moments. He only appeared at the end of the last episode, but going from this episode to Judgment Day, or at least the first half of Judgment Day, he's fantastic. Christopher Thompson does a fantastic performance as the executive, who is easily the best villain of the series, of the entire show, and it's good. It's great that we have 4.5 episodes worth of him being such a fantastic villain. Granted, he doesn't get as good as in the second half of the series as he is here, but we're kick-starting this, and unlike last episode, with all of its plots and stuff taking its time to start, this one is slap bang frozen right in the middle of the executive's plot and plans and how he's feeling. Well, I say right in the middle, I mean, gets it going straight off the bat. It doesn't reveal everything all at once, of course, obviously. We've got four more episodes after this. But it's gradually building, but in the meantime, you get to see how the executive's responding to the situation, his plans. And you see a bit more of this in the one against an army, when he goes down to that big giant statue, which may have been CG, but oh well. And the subplot I talked about, Zach, Travis, and what was it? The other guy. It's so unimportant I've forgotten who they are. If you see my blog, you understand. Number 3. Number 3, actually, I think this one would be better than First Contact anyway. I realised that I'd made a mistake saying that First Contact would be better than this if it wasn't for that subplot, but I realised while saying that, no, that's wrong. So actually, number 1, 2 and 3 would actually be where they are. In fact, I think the list would be as it is anyway. Number 3 is Downfall. Now, this one reveals a bit more about the Time Agency in a montage of stuff whilst Robin delivers a monologue. Mostly what happens in this one is Mortis is held at gunpoint by Robin, who's wanting revenge, but he eventually find out that it was not Mortis who killed Robin's team. They have quite a bit of a conversation around the time, but it's not. It doesn't take too long. It is the most focused of the first half of the episode, the main focus. But the executive gets a few good moments. Liam gets a few moments with the contact, and there's a great moment where the executive threatens Colonel Radcliffe Natesmith and orders him to retire. That's a fantastic moment. And then, like I said, the second half, this is basically what Best Kept Secret should have been. The second half, well, actually the first half's weaker than the second half, so it's basically Best Kept Secret, but better because the second half is... Well, the first half is great because of that extra scene with the Colonel, and the reveal is actually quite a good one of who killed Robin's team. And then we get to... we get to that last monologue and montage, and it's great to see more of Obadiah and Tobias in action, considering we won't be seeing any more of them. Well, no more Obadiah, I should say. We will be seeing more of Tobias. And then this directly leads into the next episode with Liam trying to stop Mortis from going to Vision X. So all in all, this episode is a great one, and it's kind of tying in the two ends of the series pretty well, unlike the next episode. Which I would suppose I would have to consider filler episode 4. Oh well. Right, we're into the top 2 now. These two are just great. Number 2 is Sins of the Past. The penultimate episode, and reveals a lot about the time agency in the far future, or in Liam's, Mortis, Katrina, Obadiah, and Tobias' past, although maybe not so much Obadiah's because he's not in this episode. I don't know why. I guess they couldn't get Matthew Perks to be in more than 10 minutes of the series. 6 in the first episode, and about 2 or so in the third. Just climbing on some stuff on a beach. But it is still great seeing some of the stuff that happened at the time agency in the far future. We don't get all the answers. We don't get much of what's become before, so we don't get to see how each member met each other. We don't get to see much of Liam and Katrina's relationship. We don't get to see why or how she betrayed Liam and Mortis, and how Mortis got stuck in the code and Katrina escaped, and Liam travelling back in time and losing his memories. We don't see Tobias come to Earth and lose his memories. I'm not sure what is it with time travel. Does it make it lose your memories? Or in Liam's and Tobias' case, at least. It wasn't such a problem for Katrina and Obadiah, and Mortis. Somehow, Mortis in the Mortis code got to the same time as Liam. Unless the codes can time travel or something, I don't know. Or if they're always there. And they can go in and out at a certain point. I don't know. Some things haven't been explained yet, and unlike the Circle mystery, where it's good to keep it not completely revealed, we do want to know more about the time agency, and unlike the Circle, where we don't mind not knowing much, we do want to know a lot more. We want to see what happened, or more answers explained. And this episode really just shows the events of just before Tobias is captured, to Mortis and Katrina sending Elizabeth, Liam and Katrina's daughter, back in time, which now adds another character into the series who, if we'd gone past the next episode, would have appeared. Like I said, possible Lizzie Bishop could be Elizabeth. Or if not, there'd be some sort of trying to find her mission for Liam or Mortis or someone after Series 4, during Series 4. As for the present day sequences, there is quite a bit of good. There's quite a bit of good stuff in the past of Liam and the Executive and Robin and company. They have some great scenes with each other. Mortis, on the other hand, has very little to do in the present day setting. It's mostly the stuff in his past, our future, in the far future with the time agency, that he gets quite a bit to do, and he is great. But as in terms of present day, he only has 2 scenes, and they're okay. But it's really because of the time agency stuff that this episode is this high. If it wasn't for that, then I think this episode would probably be third. Same for Downfall. if it wasn't for that last 10 or so minutes, was it 10? Might even have been 5. Then that one probably would have been a bit lower. But all in all, this episode is great, and whilst you don't get all your answers of the backstory revealed, you get to have a glance at at some of the stuff that happened, and the ending is great, with the executive being revealed not to be able to die, or at least not dying then, and Liam being part converted, and the giant Clarion, despite the poor effects, it's a great cliffhanger, and it's ready for the next episode. Which brings us to number 1, which is the grand finale, Judgment Day. This episode is fantastic. It heightens it broadens the character development. It heightens emotions. It's a bit more tense. You're wondering what's going to happen. You're on the edge of the seat. Granted, there are some slow moments, like when they're chatting again. But in this episode, there aren't as much talky stuff as there is kind of just a little chat, carry on. Maybe some stuff happening. Maybe they're doing some movements as well, like Liam and Mortis just before the fight with the Black Flower, and they're just chatting a little bit. It doesn't last long, and Liam's partly converted. Later, Liam has a chat with Mortis about needing help, and Mortis is giving him support, and it's not long, and it's kind of building, or not building, it's kind of supporting Liam. Mortis is trying to help Liam, and then gives him the strength to fight the giant flower in a really great battle. And so 10 minutes before the end of the episode, it just kind of, he gets the job done, and it's implied Liam's died. However, it's then later stated that he isn't dead, or at least implied by Mortis he's not dead. We get to wrap up the story. It's beautiful wrap up, by the way. You get a fantastic 35-minute story, and then the last 10 minutes is a beautiful wrap up with Zoe's funeral, with the drink in the pub, with Tobias's fiance getting his watch, and just walking around the city. And Mortis and Robin, and then Robin gets the train to go, and then Mortis meets up with Scarlet Brook to talk about what's happened, and then he states that they need to build a new team to stop all this stuff coming through the cracks in time that's now happened due to the Flower Alien God coming. Anything and anyone could come through, which is the perfect transition to Series 4, and would have been the perfect transition into that series had it been made. But it's perfect ending to the series as well, but it's also implying it's not the ending, and unfortunately it has to be now, but it wasn't going to be at the time. But yeah, Judgment Day, fantastic episode, and like I said, I don't mind the executive not being in the last half of the episode, because he had 4 other episodes to build up the character, unlike Katrina, who only had about 2 minutes of the last episode before the big finale, where she was the main villain, and she was only in half an episode. And like I said, the Flarian God was only in this episode and the end of the last one, whilst the Zachrons had been in 3 episodes by the time of Best Kept Secret, including that one. And so the switch becoming from Katrina to the Zachrons felt abrupt, whilst here the switch from the executive to the Flarian God feels fine. Especially as the main Flarian is that they have to deal with it quickly, because it's causing the most problems. I suppose the Zachrons were as well, but I was just really wanted to see what Katrina was up to. Whilst here, I was fine with the executive. And the executive, as he looked like he was going to come back. And that's another reason why I wasn't so happy with the Katrina death halfway through her episode, because she wasn't going to be coming back. So she only had half an episode as a villain, whilst the executive had about 4.5, and he might be coming back had there been more episodes. So that's why I don't mind the executive, the switch of the villain from the executive to the Flower Alien God being. I don't mind that. Also, it's only 10 minutes with the Flower Alien God. The Zachrons, I think it was about almost as long as Katrina, which was about 12 episodes. But But that's the entire second half of that story. With this one, it was only half of the remaining 20 minutes. The first 10 of the remaining 20. So, yeah, like I said, I don't mind the switch from the executive to the flower-aiding god in this episode because of how much of the executive we got and the possibility of him coming back. So that's it for me. I'll just read my list one more time. Number 6, One Against an Army. Number 5, Point of No Return. Number 4, First Contact. Number 3, Downfall. Number 2, Sins of the Past. And number 1, Judgment Day. So that's it for my Series 3 ranking. Stay tuned for my Time Agent overall ranking for Series 1, 2 and 3 and the 2009 specials, and Liam's lessons being included there. So all 22 episodes in one ranking. Might be a multi-part ranking due to the, we've got 22 to rank. The other rankings were 7 for Series 1, 3 for 2009 specials, and 6 for 2 and 3. So this one's 22, so it might be 2 or 3 or 4 parts. But, yeah, it'll be fun, hopefully. And I hope these 4 series rankings have given you a taster of what's to come for the overall one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time.